Thank you, Phil. More coming from you in Miami, okay, shortly. Phil Keating down there. Martha has more.
All right, let's get now to former State Department Senior Advisor Christian Whiten. Christian, thank you very much for being with us this morning on the phone. What's your reaction to this release of Alan Gross?
Well, Martha, I'm happy he's coming home. He has been held in terrible conditions in one of the Castro regime's gulags for far too long. Unfortunately, you just have to ask what the Obama administration is up to in trading this. He was traded for two or three actual spies, and this is part of very likely part of a process of restoration of full normal relations with Cuba, of ending the trade embargo, and doing so without any real concessions in the way the Castro government conducts itself, certainly without any sort of improvement in the human rights conditions, which remain completely atrocious in Cuba.
I mean, I guess we don't know at this point what kind of other arrangements have been made or what promises may have been made on the part of the Cuban government, and if indeed we are moving towards some sort of normalization of relationship there. I guess some of those details are yet to be revealed, Christian.
That's right, and I am just speculating. But if you look at some of the things the administration has done, and I mean, this has been the white whale for more liberal-leaning practitioners of foreign policy for some time, the idea if we just end the embargo and restore relations, that will improve the situation with Cuba. And this is something, of course, we saw with the Obama administration in Iran, and it's something we saw to a degree with Russia. The idea we could outstretch our hands and it would change things for the better. It's somewhat concerning. Again, very happy Mr. Gross is coming home, but also just the optics of a trade of people who are actual spies, who are targeting Southern Command, who are spying on people for a foreign government is also somewhat troubling.
Yeah, I mean, if concessions are to be made in terms of the trade embargo, one might think that would have been an appropriate negotiating tool in and of itself to get Mr. Gross back.
Well, unfortunately, the U.S. government, we always want, I think, heartening how much we do pay attention to our citizens who are held abroad. But we are a government with interests, and we do have to defend the United States. And despite the fact of its relative size and intense poverty as a result of its government system, Cuba causes very serious problems and does things that are very dangerous for the United States and in the United States. And, we have to keep that in mind first and foremost. Also, just look at the track record. Does diplomatic engagement lead to human rights reform? That was the big story with China, and it didn't happen, hasn't happened. In fact, it's gone the opposite way. So if our goal is a democratic Cuba, then first and foremost, we have to look at pressuring the regime, at empowering dissidents, which is what Mr. Gross was doing in part, and frankly replacing, through nonviolent means, that Castro regime. And nothing in what appears to be on the offering in Washington's mix of policy is helping to bring that about.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the Bo Bergdahl release and the exchange for 5 prisoners that was done in that deal. The White House experienced a lot of blowback for that transaction. Do you foresee that they're going to get the same kind of heat in this situation?
I don't think it'll be quite as intense just because of the controversy surrounding Sergeant Bergdahl. But,
yes, very different situation.
They are, but, it's good to bring up. And, of course, there have been situations with North Korea recently where even though there weren't a number of very specific concessions made, just the appearance of engagement and the appearance of legitimacy that it gets when the U.S. government engages a dictatorship at a rogue regime, if you will, at very high levels. That in itself is somewhat of a concession. And it's just, more of this theory in Washington, which has been disproven time and time again, that all we have to do is make nice with thug regimes and that they'll somehow recalculate their national interests. Unfortunately, governments like North Korea and governments like Cuba base their whole existence in some respects on opposition to the United States and making difficulty for us. So we should expect them to continue to make problems for us, even despite the appearance of improving ties diplomatically.
Yeah, interesting. Christian, thank you very much. Good to have you.
Martha.